Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tabitha from Baxter Travel Media, and we are bringing to you live Marco from Visit Flanders. He has a wonderful seminar prepared for you guys today. Uh, now, I'm hoping that I can come through live. Is anybody able to hear us? Please let us know in the chat box. I'll be transferring you over to Marco imminently. Fantastic. I can see that there's some responses. Sean, is the sound coming through any better for you now? Okay, seems good. So I'm going to transfer the floor over to the gentleman who's going to be lecturing about all the gastronomic delights in Flanders. We're very much looking forward to hear what he has to say. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And please give a warm digital welcome to Marco from Visit Flanders.
All right, thank you very much, Tabitha. That was a great intro. So good morning or good afternoon, depending what part of the country you're located in. This is Marco, the trade manager from Visit Flanders, the tourist office of Flanders and Brussels. Today, broadcasting live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I did not shy away any cost and effort. I just wanted to be here when I talk to my Canadian audience. So today's topic is Flanders, a food lover's paradise. And let me honestly tell you, it is a paradise. I just got back a few days ago, and I just had such a good time, fantastic time over there. Great food. So if you're a chocolate connoisseur, a food connoisseur, beer connoisseur, Flanders is the place to be. So today's webinar, I will provide a general overview of Flanders just to make sure that everybody knows where Flanders is, what our core product lines are. Just very brief, a very brief intro. Then we'll dive right into the food aspect. And food has a wide variety of different topics that we need to cover. And then I'll also give a quick outlook of all the new developments that just have happened in the last couple of weeks, months, and a brief outlook into 2015. And last but not least, we'll wrap up the webinar with some general information about travel to Flanders. So let's just go ahead and do a very quick overview of Flanders itself. So Flanders is basically the northern Dutch-speaking region of Belgium. Imagine, of course, Belgium is its own separate country, and Belgium has three different regions. Compare them to provinces in Canada. So there's Flanders, there's Brussels, which is its own separate region, and then there's Wallonia, the southern part of Belgium, the French-speaking part. And as I said, our tourist office, Visit Flanders, represents Flanders and Brussels. There are six major cities in Flanders. You've probably heard of them. Of course, the capital of Flanders and also the capital of the country, Belgium, which is Brussels. Then to the north of Brussels, we have the port city of Antwerp. Then to the northwest of Brussels, we got the UNESCO World Heritage City of Bruges. In between Bruges and Brussels, we got Ghent. And then to the east of Brussels, about 20 kilometers, we got the city of Brussels and Antwerp, so to the north of Brussels. Again, just a very quick high-level overview to make sure that everybody knows how Flanders is located, or where Flanders is located within Europe. Just in terms of size comparison, I can't even compare it to a Canadian province because the Canadian provinces are just way too big. I can actually compare it to a U.S. state. It's about the size of the state of Connecticut. So very small, very manageable, easy to get around. Our four core product lines that we're trying to on, art and architecture, cycling, and fashion. So those are our 4 core product lines. In addition to that, because of the centenary of World War I, we also have a lot of activities going on in the next 4 years. Just wanted to point out that there is literature also available about World War I and all the activities that are happening. And also just a brief FYI that we are really actively looking into doing more World War I related activities in Canada. We actually did have a reception in Toronto last night, and we're opening up a special exhibit Thursday night, tomorrow night in Ottawa at the War Museum. Again, there's a lot of activities that are happening in the next 4 years, but again, just a quick FYI. Today's topic, I'm going to stick to that, of course, the food, the gastronomy aspect. Last but not least, before we dive into that, why is it also very special? It's not just because it's a product by itself. A product is always, or service in particular, is always delivered by human beings. It's nothing anonymous. It's not a robot. Calling it, we have a reputation for cutting-edge craftsmanship, meaning that people really know the trade, they know what they're doing, they're trained, they have experience, and they're passionate about delivering excellent quality food service to you. So now that I've given a brief overview of Flanders and our core product line, let's just move ahead and cover today's topic, Flanders, a food lover's paradise. And as I said, I just returned myself from Flanders. I was there a few weeks, and I actually came back heavier than when I left. So there's a lot to gain, both in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of weight. So be careful. I'm talking based on my own experience here. The gastronomy or the food aspect is very unique in Flanders because Flanders is located at the crossroads of Europe. As you've seen, it's very close to the UK, to France, to Germany, to Amsterdam. So it's really at the crossroads of Europe. And it offers a palette of different flavors and influences from around Europe, from around the world, and all the different flavors and influences and spices all come together in some very unique dishes in the gastronomy. Some of the highlights that I just wanted to mention are the chocolates, for example, the beers, the mussels, the shrimp, the waffles, the Belgian fries, and what a lot of people don't know, the most Michelin star restaurants per capita, not in absolute numbers, but per capita anywhere in Europe. As you can see on the image here depicted, that's actually a chocolate store in Antwerp. I was actually there myself. It's, again, a chocolate lover's paradise. You find so many different flavors of chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and all types of varieties. It's really absolutely fantastic. Let's just dive into a couple of facts and figures. For example, I mentioned that we have the most Michelin star restaurants per capita. So in absolute numbers, there are 121 Michelin stars in Belgium. 75% of those are actually in Flanders and in Brussels, so the region that we represent. We have a total of 3 3-star Michelin restaurants, 17 2-star restaurants, and 75 1-star restaurants. And even if a restaurant is not a Michelin star rated restaurant, believe me, the food is really, really good there. So in total, you find approximately 17,500 restaurants in Flanders, a little bit more than 10,000 pubs. So you can see it's an incredibly large number. You will never run out of food options. There's always yet another place to go to, another place to experience. It's a tremendous experience. There's 22 hotel management schools, Again, just to provide some additional facts, more than 2,100 chocolate shops in Belgium. I've just shown you a picture of one of them. More than just 50 chocolate shops alone in Bruges. And we also have the biggest chocolate producer in the world is also located in Flanders. Interesting fact is, how did actually chocolate get to Flanders? And it all has something to do, as we know, like chocolate originates in South America with the Spanish. And the Spanish, discovered, found the chocolate in South America and discovered it, brought it to Europe. And at that time, the Flanders region, or Belgium, was actually under the Spanish crown. And that's when, the Spanish influence and also the chocolate then from South America via Spain and eventually made it to Belgium, to Flanders, and that's where it really got perfected. Let's just look at some other facts and figures about beer, for example. There's a total of 150 breweries in Belgium. About 110 of those are located in Flanders. Somebody attempted to count the different beers that we have, and it's really, really hard because, as you can imagine, there's microbreweries, coming online left and right. There's breweries innovating new beers, but the last count, again, it's a very high-level estimate. There's about 11 to 1,600 different beers and flavors in the Flanders region. This is just an incredible amount of variety. The beer production in Belgium, and I have to apologize, the numbers are a little bit confusing. It's not just 18,750 hectoliters. It's actually 18.7 million hectoliters of beer. So those are millions. So 18.7 million hectoliters of beer are produced in Belgium every year. Again, a tremendous amount of beer, tremendous amount of variety. We also have the largest beer brewing company, which is located in Flanders, actually in Leuven, AB InBev, or Anheuser-Busch InBev. We also got the top 5 best beer cafes in the world are located in Flanders. A lot of international awards for beer, chocolate, and the culinary experiences. And it's not uncommon, and I've just seen it myself. You go to a beer cafe in Antwerp, and you ask, well, how many beers do you have at your pub? And they tell you, well, we've got 900 different beers available. And then they give you like a phone book-sized menu, and then you can just like flip through and look through all the different flavors of beer. It's really an incredible amount of beer that is there. And since we're talking about beer, let me sidetrack a little bit. What is actually also very different about beer in Belgium and Flanders specifically is just the way it's brewed. And because the supply lines are very short, remember it's a very tight, compact country, it means that the beer is all natural. So breweries typically do not use preservatives. Whereas here in North America, it's very common for the big mass market beers to actually use preservatives. And the preservatives are actually good for preserving the beers, shipping it across the country, but it's actually very bad for the beer drinker, for you, because the preservatives actually give you a major headache. So we always thought, well, it's the alcohol, just drank too much beer. Well, let me tell you, it's not necessarily the alcohol, it's primarily also the preservatives. And since Belgian breweries do not use those preservatives, it's a totally different beer drinking experience. Just one image just to create some appetite. I know like lunchtime is coming up for some of you. As you can see in some of the elegant restaurants, fine, simple, elegant, just to create a little bit of an impression what type of food we serve. Again, there's just the basic comfort food, the fries, the Belgian fries, which you can buy at the friteur, and just eat with mayonnaise, not ketchup. That's very important. People eat it with mayonnaise. Or again, the higher upscale restaurants, and you can just indulge in fine dining, 5-star fine dining. So why Flanders? As I had already pointed out, what is actually unique is that we're really known for outstanding craftsmanship in world-class foods, the chocolates, the beers, and all the other foods. And it's really like the combination of all those different flavors, being at the crossroads of Europe and the world, all those different influences, because so many different countries have actually ruled Belgium over the course of the history. The country Belgium really only exists since 1830, and before that it was part of Austria, the Netherlands, Spain, and all those different cultures have actually left their impression on the cuisine, on the gastronomy in Flanders and across Belgium. And as you remember, at the crossroads of Europe, geographically speaking, they've always engaged in a lot of trade. So again, the major trade routes of Europe cross there, and there's all those different influences that come together. So let's just dive into a little bit more details of the world-class food. So dining is really a national sport, and believe me, that is true. The amount of food and the quality of food that you get when you're in Flanders is just outstanding. It's tremendous. As said, I came back heavier than what I left, so I now have to, I guess, engage in another pastime of Flanders, which is cycling, although it's getting a little bit cold around here, but I definitely, as you can see, it's a very interesting experience and a very indulging experience. There's also a lot of unique local products, meaning that they do not, so to speak, import a lot of food that is grown locally. The local vegetable producer, the local fruit producers, the beef is local. So a lot of local products that actually get used. As I had mentioned before, 121 Michelin star restaurants. And a lot of also very young and talented chefs that are coming out of Flanders and are really making a major impact in the gastronomy sector. And they actually do have a name. They're called the Flemish Kitchen Rebels. You may or may not have heard of them, but if you have not yet, then just keep your eyes and ears open, and you might hear more about them in the next couple of years, because they've already made a major impact in Europe, and they may also make a major impact over here in North America as well. One other item that I mentioned, the Flemish frites or the Belgian fries, there's really a cultural item that even it's on a government's radar screen as an intangible cultural heritage. A lot of unique locations that you have restaurants in locations that have been open for 500, 600, 700 years. In old harbor buildings, in old churches that are no longer used as churches. So a lot of unique locations where you can actually enjoy your food. There's a lot of food events also going on. We'll get into that a little bit later on, like Taste Antwerp, Cook It in Bruges, Culinary Brussels. So there's a lot of food festivals going on. There's almost, if you wanted to find a food festival every weekend, I'm sure you can find one. There's so many food festivals going on. There's also a word, beerstronomy. What that basically is beer gastronomy. What that means is they do a lot of food preparation with beer. So they cook the meat in beer sauces. They pair the food with the appropriate beer. So a lot of beer and food pairing going on. And then last but not least, what I had already pointed out, the Michelin stars and the cooking classes that are also offered. I took a cooking class myself when I was there, and they're often given by Michelin star chefs that you can really learn from the best chefs to actually prepare your food. Just a couple of images again to get the taste buds going. As you can see, a chef really, making sure that the presentation is properly done. It's not just the quality of the ingredients, it's the whole preparation of the food. And again, it's the whole atmosphere. People take their time. It's not a fast food culture, although you do find your typical fast food restaurants there as well, but that's not what we're here about talking right now. We're about, to talk about taking time, sitting down, enjoying a meal, and really indulging in the gastronomy aspect. A couple more images here. As you can see, the Flemish Kitchen Rebels, they also do have, their own show actually in Flanders. They got their own books, cookbooks. Again, it's a tremendous amount of experience. And then last but not least, you will also find some very interesting designed tableware. Again, it's a topic that we're not covering today, but Flanders is really cutting edge in terms of design and art and furniture design, cutlery design. So you find a lot of fancy tableware in Flanders. Let's briefly talk about some chocolates, since chocolates is also a very, very important aspect of the culinary experience. As I had already pointed out, Flanders really breathes chocolate, and chocolate is not just candy. I'm tempted to say chocolate is actually food. It's a staple. It's a tremendous experience and it's so much different than if you just consume the mass market chocolates. You will find that it's a totally different experience. There's a lot of innovative chocolate products and creative and shocking combinations that people started to put in different spices, different flavors, different herbs, and really experiment and lift the chocolate culture and want to basically improve and be innovative with the chocolate. As I pointed out, France is really known for having the best, finest, high-quality chocolate in the world. Every city or village literally has chocolatiers and then chocolate shops. It's really next to impossible not to hit one. You will always hit a chocolate store. And they do eat chocolate, they cook with it, and they use it for health benefits and wellness. And especially the dark chocolate is actually really good. There was actually, by the way, an interesting study, if I may just sidetrack again, about natural ways to improve your cardiovascular health. And what the study came up was that the four most important substances that you can consume in improving your cardiovascular health is basically chocolate, fish, red wine, and almonds. So number one, chocolate. There we go. There's the proof. There's a lot of chocolate museums, chocolate workshops. I attended a chocolate workshop. I made my own chocolate. I was, going crazy. I put different peanuts in there, hazelnuts, pistachios, then chili pepper, and just experiment, go crazy. So there's a lot of different chocolate workshops, chocolate museums, and also chocolate tours available. Again, it's a chocolate lover's paradise. Again, just the image again that I just showed before. This is the chocolate shop here in Antwerp, and just incredible amount of variety. I just actually passed through twice through this store in the last 2 weeks. Again, it's really tremendous amount of chocolate experiences that you can have there. Just another chocolate image here. Let's briefly talk about beer. So beer comes in a lot of different varieties. As I said, the last count established a number somewhere between 11 to 1,600 different beers. Nobody can keep track. It's just such a big variety. The breweries use all the different fermenting processes that are available, so that's why it's also a reason why we have so many different beers. What is actually very unique is that every beer, and again, remember there's about 11 to 1,600 different beers, every beer has its own unique glass. So for each beer, you can only drink that particular beer in that particular glass. So if you drink the wrong beer in the wrong glass, people will actually look at you, this is not quite right. So remember, this is something very unique about drinking beer in Flanders and in Belgium, that each beer has its own unique class. And it's taken very, very seriously by people in Flanders and in Belgium, as seriously as wine is in France. And again, as I pointed out, it's not necessarily like the quantity, it's the quality that people put in the brewing process, brewing it the natural way without the preservatives, and that really makes for excellent quality. A lot of beer food pairing that I mentioned. You will often go into a restaurant and you find all the dishes listed, all different entrees and main courses, and down at the bottom you find all the different recommended beers that go with that particular dish. Lots of beer cafes. Again, there's absolutely no shortage of beer cafes, pubs that you can visit. A lot of traditional breweries, as I said, about 110 in Flanders alone. They do brewery tours. You can actually see the brewing process, beer museums, brewery museums, beer festivals. Again, it's something for everyone. Even if you don't drink beer, you can still go on a brewery tour and just look at the process and see how they do it. Again, just some images that you see here. Brew kettle, or basically ingredients are added. Some of the unique different beer glasses that you can see there, people drinking out of different glasses. Again, it's a great experience. In a nutshell, it ties in again to that craftsmanship approach that I mentioned. Flemish people are really accomplished in their state-of-the-art craftsmanship. So just a couple of highlights. I don't necessarily want to brag about all those highlights, but let's just briefly mention them because they're true. So we got the best beer in the world. We got the best beer cafe in the world. We got the best European chef of the year. We got the best foreign chef. And we got 121-star restaurants according to the Michelin Guide. I like that, so thumbs up to that. Let's just briefly touch upon, since beer and food pairing is so important, maybe just a couple of hands-on tips. Since we're already on this webinar here, we might as well just cover some very, very high-level basic tips about pairing beer and food. So first of all, the dish and the beer should always have the same flavor content or the flavor intensity. So basically means like a light dish is best paired with a light beer, and a more robust heavy dish needs a more robust beer. So that's one of the basic ground rules. Second ground rule is if you opt for harmony, then sour, sweet, bitter should all be present in an equal amount in both the dish and the beer. Ground rule number 3 is, in addition to the dish itself, the way it's prepared is also important. So if you choose a mild beer or a beer with a strong character, also depends on whether or not the dish is stewed, baked, or fried. So always keep that in mind. Then, fourth step is that you always have to follow a logical sequence when you select the dish as well as the beer. So initially, a relatively mild light beers are perfect for appetizers and starters. Then more characterful and stronger beers are more suited for the main course. And then beers with a more specific sweet, sour, or fruity flavor are a good choice for serving with desserts. And when I talk about fruity flavors, I mean, for example, beer that are cherry beer, strawberry beer. So you find a lot of different fancy fruity flavored beers. And in the course of the meal, you should always progress from a relatively mild to a more pronounced flavor, and from a low alcohol beer to a stronger beer. So those are just some high-level tips for beer and food pairing. And personally, I would recommend that you just try them out yourself, see how well you do. And if you need some help or improvement, then just to jump on a plane and fly over to Flanders, and we'd be more than happy to do the food and beer pairing with you live in Flanders. So basically, I say to that, cheers. And again, you can see all the different types of beers that we have here, from light beer to medium to dark beers. let's briefly look at 2015. Some of the information contained in the sneak preview here just actually happened, so I'm going to mix a couple of things here. First of all, let me just point out that 2015 will be the year of beer. The beer product line will basically be expanded. Each year, Visit Flanders chooses a topic for the year. Next year, it will be beer. In 2016, it will be cycling. And there's all, deeper reasons behind that, but it's just to remember it's the item, it's the product line that will be promoted heavily next year. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. So what does it specifically mean, the year of beer? So first of all, we'll have a new beer brochure. We're just finalizing it. It's about to be printed and should hopefully be available at the beginning of the year. There will be a lot of international beer campaigns in terms of, advertising campaigns, promotional campaigns. There will be a new digital Beer in Flanders website that will launch in the middle of next year. And we're also looking into making available bookable itineraries that you, as a travel professional, then can book your clients on different beer routes, beer experiences, and beer tours. And then last but not least, some promotional events, of course, surrounding the whole launch of different beer-related activities. Just looking a little bit further beyond 2015, there is actually the possibility in 2016 that the Belgian beer culture could potentially be recognized by the UNESCO as a World Heritage. And again, I can't promise anything, but there are certain efforts on the way, and it could potentially happen. And then reaching way, way, way into the future, 2019, we're looking into launching a Belgian beer temple. As I had pointed out, beer and food really form a core of the activities. And let's just look at a couple of beer festivals. And there's literally like one festival of beer or beer-related activity every single weekend. So I didn't want to pick 52 beer festivals because that would just be way too much. So I'm just going to focus on a couple of the highlights. For example, the Bruges Beer Festival that will happen at the beginning of February. And Bruges has really earned a reputation for a long tradition of brewing and a cafe culture. And the beer festival will basically bring together a total of 70 breweries, and you'll be able to taste over 300 different beers at the festival. Last time the festival went on, there was more than 15,000 people that went to that and had a great experience. The next highlight is the Great Belgian Beer Dinner, which happens in Leuven on the 23rd. And it's a major event, a major exquisite culinary experience with, again, excellent food and beer pairing, top-class food. And it will actually also feature 5 of the world's best beer chefs will be there during that Great Belgian Beer Dinner in Leuven. Then right immediately after that is the Leuven Beer Weekend. And during that beer weekend, you'll be able to taste a total of 500 different beers at that beer festival weekend from about 100 different breweries. Again, it will include beer tours, beer walks, beer workshops, tasting. The world's largest brewery, AB InBev, will also open the doors for visitors, and you can do brewery tours of the AB InBev brewery. I actually did that myself a couple of years ago. It's really like a great beer tour. Then in June in Antwerp, we have the Beer Passie Weekend, which is the Beer Passion Weekend. So it's an ideal occasion for beer connoisseurs to discover the beauty of Antwerp and the different beers of Antwerp in that region. It will feature about 40 different local breweries from Antwerp, and you'll be able to taste about 200 different beers. Then let's again go back to Leuven on August 2nd. We have Hapje Tapje, which is basically a culinary event par excellence in the city center of Leuven. And there will be several stalls and restaurants that will participate in that. And the market's selling exclusive beers and different fun activities. For example, there will be a bartender's race. So again, it's a whole festival surrounded around beer and celebrating beer. Then at the end of August, we got the Bolletjesfest in Antwerp. And what it is also, again, yet again, another fun culinary city festival that really focuses on the taste and flavors of regional Antwerp products, and including, of course, beer as well. Then in September, we got the Belgium Beer Weekend. And then what it is basically an event to celebrate the Belgian and Brussels beer tradition in style. So the different beers, the blonde beers, the wheat beers, the amber color beers, the fruity beers, the strong beers, and all the hop-based brews will be on hand for the entire weekend in Brussels, and you can sample it as much as you like. Last but not least, I wanted to point out what you might find maybe a little bit strange. There's also a Christmas beer festival because, believe it or not, the tradition of brewing Christmas beer is actually very old. And for that Christmas Beer Festival, there will be a total of about 170 different Christmas beers that can be sampled during that festival. What else is new? We have beer museums that are really expanding, adding new things, adding new museums. We got the Hope Museum in Poppering. That museum will actually have an expo about food in the times of war, and it will open at the end of 2015. As you may or may not know, Poppering is in Flanders Fields, and the museum really wanted to focus on food in the times of war, since Flanders Field is really synonymous with a lot of the battles that went on in World War I. Then we got the Bruges Beer Museum. We'll have a new interactive exhibit about the history and heritage of beer in Flanders. The museum actually just opened a few weeks ago. I have not had a chance yet to actually visit myself, but actually pass by. And the next time I am in Flanders, which will be about 10 days from now, I hope that I'll be able to go there. And then I should be able to tell you also firsthand how great the museum is. And then last but not least, we got the Beer Experience Center Brewery, De Koning. Their main focus is that they really wanted to have a multi-sensory, innovative beer experience so that you can really experience, the beer brewing, the tradition with all the different senses, with your hands, with your fingers, with your nose, its smell, and the eyes, and it's really like a great sensory experience. Let's talk about some other food-related stuff. There's more than just beer. So we do have the opening of the Chocolate Village, which actually just happened in September. And this is actually the biggest museum dedicated to chocolate. The culture and the history of growing chocolate, the heritage, and really follows the whole discovery of chocolate, the production line, the history of making chocolate, and it's a great, really great experience for people that wanted to learn about chocolate, and it's actually located in Brussels. Then there's also different chocolate events going on. So you got the Brussels Chocolate Week. Again, a lot of activities around chocolate workshops. You got the same thing going on in Antwerp. You have a chocolate academy. in the world's largest factory of the world's largest chocolate factory. So again, you can learn about making chocolate. It's an all-around chocolate experience. And then last but not least, what I said, there's a lot of food festivals. It would really go beyond this webinar to really present all those food festivals. But again, there's a festival going on every single weekend. Last but not least, let's just quickly cover how to get to Flanders. It's really easy to get there. There's two airports in Canada that offer direct flights to Brussels. You can fly out of Montreal and Toronto. And in the U.S., if you wanted to fly via the U.S. airports, there's primarily direct connections out of the East Coast or the Midwest, like Chicago. Of course, you can always fly into any other European airport, be it Frankfurt, Paris, London Heathrow. Just take a connecting flight or jump on the Eurostar or the Thalys train, and you're really in Flanders in no time. Again, Flanders is so central. It's really a great location to base yourself for a European vacation, because in less than 2 hours, you're either in Amsterdam, you're in Cologne, you're in Paris, you're in London, and you get actually so much better value in Brussels, for example, than you would get in Paris or in London. Hotels are much more expensive in Paris, are much more expensive in London. The quality of the hotel is not as good, so you can actually save a lot of money by really basing your clients in Brussels, in Flanders, and then taking that as the home base and then venture out and see all the different cities in Europe. So again, in a nutshell, let's just wrap things up. Flanders, we are state-of-the-art. Our 4 core product lines are gastronomy, which we elaborated a little bit on today, art and architecture, cycling, and fashion. My question for you is, what are you waiting for? See you in Flanders. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. So Marco has just completed, and thank you for joining us. Now, I do see that we have some questions here. So John McRae would like to ask how we can order the new promotional brochures regarding the 2015 Year of Beer. So I'll pass the floor over to Marco, and he'll let us know.
All right, thank you very much for the question, John. The beer brochure, as I had pointed out, is just about to be printed. We've just wrapped up the final layout and design, and it will become available in the next couple of weeks. What I suggest is that you maybe right now the best thing is probably shoot me a direct email. My email address is marco@visitflanders.us. In the future, we also intend to have those brochures available on our website, but we are also in the middle of a relaunch of our website. The new website will go live at the end of January, but until that time, it's probably best if you were to get into direct contact with me, and then later on, once the website is up, we'll also envision a brochure order page, and then you can just like enter your order, and then it will go directly to us, and then we'll just send you the brochure to you.
All right, so I see that Sean would like to know the most economical means of getting people around in Belgium, for example, Belgium or Brussels to Flanders.
All right, the most economical way to get around is basically using public transportation. The train network is incredibly well organized. Train runs smoothly. There's a lot of trains that run connecting all the major cities. And because everything is so close, it doesn't take much of a time to really travel from Brussels to Antwerp. For example, like a train ride from Brussels to Antwerp is just 30 minutes, and it's really easy to get on any train. Brussels has 3 train stations. You can just like go to any of the train stations, get on a train, and then travel to Antwerp. The same, you know, if you wanted to go to Bruges, for example, there's 3 trains every hour that go to Bruges. So the public transport or the public train network is really like the most economical way to get around. If for whatever reason you do have a group and you wanted to go out to, let's say, a little bit more of an offbeat site that is not in the major cities, then there's a lot of local taxi companies, but taxi might be a little bit confusing. What they're actually using are vans, and you can just get 8, 9 people in a van, and then just drive to wherever you need to go. So those are my two recommendations. If you're going to the major cities, just use the train network. If you're going to an off-site location that's not in a major city, then just utilize those taxis, aka the vans that really are taking you wherever you need to go.
And Pat and Charmaine would like to know which Canadian airports and gateways can you fly out of? Charmaine specifically has said that she can't see Air Transat flights from Montreal to Brussels on Sabre. So do you know which Canadian destinations will fly?
All right. According to the information that I obtained from Brussels airports directly, there's only 2 airlines that offer right now direct flights. Of course, that could always change as airlines add and subtract routes to their winter schedule or summer schedule. But we basically got Air Canada that flies out of Montreal. I've actually been on that flight now twice within the last couple of weeks. And we got Jet Airways that flies out of Toronto. Again, this is the latest information I actually obtained just a couple of weeks ago from Brussels Airport directly. Of course, as said, it could always happen that airlines do add new flights. There's new winter schedules, but at this time, there's only 2 airlines that do fly directly.
All right, so just to repeat, that is Air Canada out of Montreal and Jet Airways out of Toronto. Now, Erica would like to know if Marco has any events or visits Vancouver.
All right, that's actually a very good question. I'm not sure if I should answer here in a professional or personal matter, but there is no immediate business or visit Flanders event that I do have scheduled right now on the West Coast in Vancouver. But I actually do visit Vancouver myself on a personal level quite a lot because I used to live out there for a couple of years. So I do go back and see friends, but as said, in terms of my professional trade manager role, we do not right now have anything planned out there on the West Coast. But as said, we are really in the middle of planning a lot of activities surrounding World War I. And for example, the exhibition that we're opening tomorrow night in Ottawa will stay there for half a year and then travel throughout the country. And there is, of course, a possibility that the exhibit will also travel out west, and that, of course, will also be there when it comes out west. But if you just want to send me an email with a little bit more questions that you have or the background of your question, why or if I'm coming to Vancouver, then just definitely be able to help you.
All right, so it seems as though we're winding up. Does anybody have any further questions that they'd like to send over Marco's way so he can answer them in person? If not, let me repeat. The email is Marco, that's Mother Alpha Romeo Charlie Oscar @visitflanders.us, or you can direct any emails to me. I am the one that sent out the invitation, so that's T as in Tango, F as in Fish, Bradley, Bradley, @baxter.net. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. We will also be sending out a recording of today's webinar, just in case you'd like to have it for your files, or if you'd like to look at the pictures again. I know we will be. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to direct them to either Marco or myself, and we'll be happy to answer them. Last call for questions. If you have any, please leave them in the chat box, and we'll get to them imminently. Okay, I do see that Charmaine is typing. All right, so it seems as though everybody's